Newt Gingrich is on the phone with us right now. Newt, you've been hearing this back and forth about, Donald Trump trying to, step back, sound a little more gravitas, a little bit more presidential. What do you make of that and the kind of effect it had tonight?
Well, I think you can sense the Donald Trump analysis of the race in the way he approached this evening. I agree entirely. This was a presidential-style press conference. It was not a campaign victory event. And frankly, when you win Massachusetts and you swing down and
I'm jumping on you, and I'll get you right back in here. We can now estimate that Marco Rubio has won a state, the state of Minnesota. Right. He picks it up. So Marco Rubio gets on the board with one state. I apologize, Newt. Continue.
No. But all I was going to say is, Rubio won a caucus in Minnesota. Cruz can take real credit for Texas, which is a very big state. He can take credit also for Oklahoma. He did not win Arkansas, where he was expected to win. Kasich, I think, is still in contention in Vermont and came in second in Massachusetts. But look at the Trump achievement tonight. He is winning Massachusetts by a big margin. And by the way, there's an article tonight that some 20,000 Democrats switched to the Republican Party to vote for Trump, something which ought to be worrying the Democratic Party. Trump then comes down across and keeps winning. He wins in Virginia, despite what for a brief period looks like a close race. He wins Georgia in a landslide. He does very well in Alabama. He does very well coming all the way across. And then, frankly, there's a very strong second in Texas. My only point is there is one national candidate in this race in the Republican Party. His name is Donald Trump. He is gradually, inexorably building up the votes. There's no reason to believe anybody is going to catch him. And Cruz has, I think, a better argument for staying in the race. But Rubio's clearly not going to get out. Kasich's not going to get out. Carson's not going to get out. And so you're just going to see a meat grinder. It's not elegant, but it's very powerful. And it's going to, I think, gradually move towards inevitability. Rubio's great crisis is if he can't win Florida, I think he has no rationale for his campaign. That's why today was life and death for Cruz. And frankly, Ohio will be life and death for Kasich. And Trump just keeps grinding along. There's no single state he can't afford to win.
Newt, Lou Dobbs, Newt, in terms of delegates, do you believe that tonight Trump will have enough to make it extraordinarily difficult for the others to catch up mathematically?
Well, I think the only way you could imagine it is if somebody began to sweep the winner-take-all states, which is very unlikely. Right. And so, the problem Trump has, because it is a movement, as Chris Christie keeps saying, because he has so aroused the insiders' anger, and frankly, more than their anger, their fear, because he's going to change their world, he has to actually win an absolute majority. If he comes in at 45%, there'll be enormous energy to try to block him, even though it would lead to a revolution in the party, because
no doubt.
you can't get as many votes as Trump is getting and then be denied the opportunity to be the nominee.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this is sort of an Andrew Jackson moment, where the actual grassroots movement is so big that Trump is building a head of steam that's going to be very dangerous for anyone to try to stop.
Newt, you were very frank today in talking about those Republicans who swear that come hell or high water they were never going to vote for Donald Trump. You said essentially that's a vote for Hillary Clinton if they sit this one out. Did you get any feedback, and do you think that some of the folks who are saying that now, once they are faced with a choice between Hillary and Donald Trump, they will vote for Trump?
Oh, I think so. But look, I think part of the burden is on Trump, and I think frankly tonight he rose to it. Tonight he was magnanimous. He was positive. He was praising Ted Cruz. He was even almost nice to Marco Rubio.
Well, let's not push it, Newt. I mean,
that's right. I said almost nice.
Almost.
He made a little bit of mistake in sort of asserting a threat against Paul Ryan. Promptly came back about 2 answers later and talked effusively about wanting to work with Paul Ryan, which is the right thing to be saying. What Trump faces is a crossroads of being either Goldwater or Reagan. Tonight he came much closer to the Reagan standard of saying, let's all get together. He did not say, let me kick these guys out. And I think he's
But
sort of...
to be fair, I don't know if Reagan ever sounded like Tony Soprano, but Trump did say he hopes to get along well with Ryan and the Republican Senate leader McConnell. He hopes to, and he thinks that they will be replying in kind. In other words, saying that if you don't, there could be hell to pay.
Look, I don't want to get into trouble by being geographically invidious, but let me just suggest you have Christie from New Jersey and Trump from Manhattan standing on the stage. Their tone tends to be a little different than Ronald Reagan from Hollywood.
Do you say you have a problem with those from New Jersey? Is that what you said?
Careful.
No, I'm just saying, their idea of how are you guy is a little tougher than Reagan.
All right. How exactly do I amuse you, Speaker? All right. Thank you very much, my friend. I do appreciate it. The former Speaker of the House started a big old revolution.